Breitbart News Tonight is now very pleased to welcome Congressman Greg Pence of Indiana. He is the representative of the 6th District in the Hoosier State, but he is also the son of our vice president, or is that brother? Am I getting my late night vibes mixed up here?
Late night vibes mixed up. I'm the oldest brother.
There you go.
Older.
Well, I was trying to pay you a compliment, but you have now withdrawn it. No, thank you. And I have to say that I was so exhausted after watching that debate last night that my head hit the pillow and I was gone. My wife was up at night working on a presentation, and she had all the lights on in our room, and I just completely collapsed anyway. So I don't know how you must feel and how the team must feel, but let me just get your impressions of what that debate was like. You were there, University of Utah, Salt Lake City, the debate. How did it go down from your perspective?
Joel, we are so proud of my brother as a family. We had a little pizza party afterwards and, chopped it up, as we say in the Pence family. And, he just did a fabulous job. He showed he's measured. He showed his leadership skills that, I've known about all his life since I am older. And then he had a solid grasp of facts that can only come from somebody that's been there, done that, and helped lead the effort with President Trump. On the other hand, Kamala Harris, I thought she was a little unprepared. Now, you can call me biased, but she didn't seem to have a good grasp of foreign policy. She was certainly extreme far left, not answering some questions, avoiding some of the Green New Deal progressive questions. And then I thought towards the end she got a little angry or maybe even a little condescending. She kept referring to the former vice president of the United States as Joe and calling the president Trump. My brother, has a fabulous relationship with the president, and he's been a super vice president, wingman to the president, Donald Trump.
All right, so some of that is technique, right? She wants to use the word Joe because she wants people to feel more familiar with the Democratic candidate, and she calls the president Trump because she wants people to feel more distant. And obviously there was some technique happening there, as well as with Mike Pence. Now, you mentioned, and I agree with you here, but I want to ask you some of the harder questions about the debate. You mentioned she skipped some very important questions, most notably the question about packing the court. And I thought the vice president did an incredible job of asking that question. I don't believe it was the moderator who asked it, it was him. And he did that very, very well. Ask the question that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden don't want to answer. But then Mike Pence was asked a question specifically about abortion. Now, I didn't think it was an appropriate question because he's not running for governor of Indiana. He's running for vice president of the United States. But I think the question, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, was something like, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, would you push for Indiana to ban abortion? And he never answered that question, which I thought was the right response because, again, he's not running for governor. But what was your impression of that answer? Do you think that he could have said, yes, I would, and continued with his answer anyway? Or was
I think number one, he's a Federalist, as am I. So what Indiana decides to do after Supreme Court rules on something is, we do have separation of powers. So I don't think the question was really very appropriate, to be honest with you. What he did, though, was immediately go to the Democratic platform, and that is, abortion all the way up to the time of birth. And he kind of focused on the bigger issues and not something specifically that Indiana or any of the other 49 states would do. So I just thought it was, I'm not real sure what the point of the question was.
And let's talk about the accusation on the left that he was, quote unquote, mansplaining to Kamala Harris, that he interrupted her, he was trying to check her facts, that there was some kind of sexism, maybe even double sexism, because he was up against, you can say, a female moderator. So was he being sexist? Was he mansplaining to Kamala Harris?
I didn't think so at all, Joel. I mean, he was very polite. He wanted to finish his sentence, but when Senator Harris repeatedly told him to let me finish, he did. He was very polite to her. Typical Hoosier hospitality. He's a very kind person. Know him the way I know him. There's no mansplaining going on in the Pence family. We are used to very strong, intelligent, accomplished women. I think that's just a talking point for the Democrats that they want to get done. And I don't think if that's what she was trying to pull off, she pulled it off successfully.
Now, this question of interruptions is getting a lot of sympathy and support from the CNNs of the world for saying, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. And I looked at that first exchange, and actually the moderator was the one who cut her off. And then the vice president started responding with his answer. So he didn't interrupt her, it was the moderator because her time had run out. But was that a part of the preparation that when you go into a debate with a female opponent, you have to be more careful? I do think Joe Biden, for example, was more careful in 2008 because there was a risk that a male candidate would look more bullying, more domineering if he did, for example, what Biden and Trump were doing in their back and forth on the first presidential debate. Was there some thought on the Pence team about how you debate a female opponent versus a male opponent?
Joel, there is a lot of talk about that this morning. I think that's just a deflection of the fact that my brother resoundingly won the debate. What we saw last night with Kamala Harris was the defund, dismantle, and destroy Democratic platform. And today we want to talk about things, whether or not he was mansplaining or he had a fly in his head or he had pink eye. Those things, I guess that's what you denigrate to once you realize, oops, boy, we didn't do well at all. So let's find some things we can criticize. What we saw with Kamala Harris was they're going to raise taxes. They're going to cut Trump tax. They're going to do away with the Trump tax cuts. I was disappointed that we didn't talk about SALT. That the fact that these states with high state income or sales and property taxes, they want to go back and give the billionaires in New York City a break. Eliminate private insurance, defund police. We know Kamala Harris has supported that in Los Angeles. Stack the court. How about that one? You're not going to answer the question there, so let's talk about sexism instead, and then destroy America. We're going to do the Green New Deal. We're going to get rid of the American energy sector. California just recently announced that in 15 years they're not going to have combustion engines there. Now, I know that was a governor's executive order, but that's where the Green New Deal wants to go. They want to get rid of all of the tens and tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of jobs in our dominating energy sector, where we are now energy independent in this country.
Well, I live in California, and that executive order would affect me directly. And like many things in California, the governor announced it without considering whether it would work. And that electric car mandate, no internal combustion engines in 10 or 15 years, that means that the grid has to provide something like 25% more power than it does now, but it can't even provide enough power now. So we have these rolling blackouts in Northern California recently. Where are we going to charge all these electric cars everyone's going to be driving? Plus, I hear the experts saying, well, one way to do it is to have people feed power back into the grid. You plug your car in, and then the grid takes away your battery power so it can spread the wealth around. That's not going to work. Who's going to drive 200 miles and then plug their car in to recharge and have no battery to go home? All right, that's just my digression, but you're right. It sounds like
Joel, if I may, in the Indiana 6th District, we have the largest diesel engine manufacturer in the world, okay? And you're not going to haul a whole lot of freight if you have to haul a whole bunch of batteries on the trailer. I got a kick one time. Somebody said they have perfected the technology. They drove a transport 18-wheeler from Texas to Cleveland, Ohio. I said, well, what were they hauling? Batteries. There's some practicality here that just gets completely ignored. It's a lot more than cars to commute to and from work. 40 miles a day. There's all kind. How about trains that move tons and tons and billions of tons of freight every year? They're run by diesel. So
Yeah.
not a practical conversation, as you say.
Well, I'm not opposed to advances in technology. If they get the batteries right, we can do more of that. But wouldn't people just switch to that
Yeah.
technology by themselves? Why do you have to force people to do it? If it works, people will buy it.
Well, you're singing to the choir. Completely agree. And let's let innovation, which we've done. We are the cleanest country in the world. We've cleaned up our environment more than any other country. And the Paris Accord, they haven't done their job, and we're doing all the cleaning in the world. So let's lead the way in innovation and technology, but let's not give other countries an advantage over us in the meantime.
I thought the vice president's answer on climate change was very good in that he pointed out that we have reduced emissions even after leaving the Paris Climate Accord. That was very, very good. All right, so how does the campaign take that win? And I do think it was a very convincing win. How do they take that win and move ahead? Do they turn it into campaign ads? Do they say, she lied about Charlottesville, it's the biggest lie in American history, and Vice President Pence called it out, the fact checkers sided with Pence? How do we move forward? Can you turn that into an ad? What's the momentum you carry through, especially if there's no virtual debate in the second debate that was supposed to happen with the president and Joe Biden? How do you pick this momentum up and go forward? Yeah.
Well, Joel, I don't speak for the campaign, but I was just a little surprised that Kamala Harris was really kind of promoted herself over the president. When they asked the question about, we'll have the two oldest presidents. We have two oldest candidates ever running, so we will now have the oldest president come November 4th. And then she talked about herself the whole time. So I think pointing out that she is the Green New Deal. She is the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate. She is for defunding, dismantling, and destroying, and pointed out that she's just a heartbeat behind Vice President Biden. I think that's the message you take away from last night. She didn't do a very good job covering up who she really is.
Let me ask you one last question about the debate. I had an hour or so to collect my thoughts before the debate actually happened. I had been up since 3 a.m. getting all of our articles ready and so forth at Breitbart.com. And I thought, Vice President Pence is a man of faith, and he has to be thinking about that as he heads into this debate. He has to be thinking about what he's in touch with. What role do you think faith and that connection that he has, that very deep connection to his faith and his belief, what role did that have in his preparations? Because he seemed absolutely calm and confident last night.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. The whole Pence family is a man of faith. It's one of the things I'm most proud about my brother. And let me tell you, one of the ways he prepared for it was he literally, we all said a prayer before he went out and talked about making sure that he exhibited his values when he was out there, treat others as you would want to be treated. And he did. He was statesmanlike. Absolutely kind, considerate, knowledgeable. He's just a leader that is motivated and led by his faith. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Joel.
Congressman Greg Pence, older brother of Vice President Mike Pence, very proud of his younger brother. Thank you so much for joining us on Breitbart News Tonight.
All right. Thanks, Joel. Have a great day. Bye-bye.